Hello and welcome to the Eagle's Eye, catching up with Berkshire Visionaries. And today we're catching up with two Berkshire Visionaries, Mitch and Seth Nash, who've created BlueQ. Now, BlueQ is a Pittsfield company, been in business for 35 years with 60 employees, and they make products, but not everyday kinds of products. They make coin purses, they make socks, they make toothpaste, they make lots of things with cats, and it all has incredible artwork and phrases on them that, well, you probably won't be able to say them on television. But they built an enormous, fun, quirky company, and we're here today to learn a little bit about what makes it go and how it works. So welcome, Seth and Mitch. Delighted to be here today and to learn a little bit more about BlueQ. I don't want to start at the beginning. I think people have heard the beginning story a lot, and even if they haven't, they should just go to the website and see what's there. More importantly, you've been at this for a long time. Longer than many people have been able to sustain a business. And you're in a creative business, so I wonder if you can let us in on the magic. How have you kept this business going, and what propels you to keep creating?
Well, in our business, if you don't keep creating, you'll be filling out Chapter 11 paperwork pretty quickly. It's a faddish business, and products rotate quickly. That's what people expect. That's what the stores expect. So by default, you have to create. That's just a given. But we also get bored easily, the two of us. So if we had to keep doing the same thing over and over, I don't think that would be good for us. So we like the kind of challenge of having to reinvent the company and what we do over and over.
Yeah, so how often do you recreate, if you will, your product line?
Well, we have about 400 products in the line at any given time on average, and we make about 150 new things a year, half in the summer, half in the winter. So we have to cull the herd that same amount or it will bloat too much. So there's a lot of studying of data and sales trends and seeing what's not working and like getting rid of that and bringing in the new, because it's really important it's more important to have our best sellers in the store than to maximize the value in our inventory. So if something's not selling, we will take the hit and replace it with fresh new things.
So talk to me a little bit about the community of artists that you work with and how you invite them in to create essentially a new business almost every year.
Well, I think it was always our idea that it would be really fun to just collaborate with lots of different people wherever they are, so that we didn't look the same forever, right?
Which is common. I think a lot of people that start in our industry, the owners have an idea, they create it, and after a while, the look is the same, and the stores get bored, and the customers get bored. It's hard to keep people engaged if your look is always the same. And our first product we developed, and then we developed some additional product after that was, moderately successful or less. And we couldn't afford to work with some of the designers we kind of aspired to work with. They were too expensive. But we started working with this designer in New York, and we said, hey, how about if we give you a cut of sales? And he took a gamble with us, and that really opened our eyes to working with other artists, because most artists are getting paid a fixed fee to do something. They design something and it's over.
Right.
And they had skin in the game. If something was very successful, they reaped the benefits of that for as many years as that product sold. And that really opened our eyes, like, hey, we can work with a lot of artists now because they're part of the profit model.
Right, so artists really become your partner.
Totally, yeah.
And do they come to you with the ideas? I mean, you've got socks and you've got purses and how do new product lines evolve? And do the artists come to you with those ideas, and how do you assess that?
Well, typically we bring them a brief. Maybe it's a phrase, something that's been written in we have these deep dive writing sessions where we get a diverse group of people and we're like, let's think about this theme or that theme. So we'll bring those to an illustrator or a graphic designer and say, this is what we want to say, this is the general feel, and now you provide sketches. Like, so we try to really marinate in that whole like research phase and keep things really loose. We say you can like sketch on the back of a cocktail napkin, but kind of give us some different options. And then the rest of the process goes from there. But no, we don't really invite people to bring their concepts to us because we feel like we've got a certain like voice and we want to kind of like maintain control over that.
Well, let's go back to where you said this sort of ideation stage. This happens here, and who do you involve in that? And that seems like, it seems like almost, I imagine, writers sitting who are going to create Saturday Night Live sit in a writer's room. Is that how you operate here?
There's a lot of writing. I mean, the writing is what really is the hook for most people. They go to a store, yes, they may like the graphic, but the copy is what is like, hey, this is a perfect birthday present for Gene.
Right.
You know, so the copy is really important, and we use a lot of people that write copy, and it's normal for 100 pieces of copy to get written, and we maybe like one.
Right.
That's the reject rate is very high. And sometimes there's 50 pieces of copy and we like 6, but that's rare.
Yeah, that makes tons of sense. And just to give a sense, like how many artists are you working with at any given time, and where are they?
Maybe 25 or so, you know, like everywhere. We've hired interpreters to work with illustrators in Japan because we really liked Takao Nakagawa's look, and we don't speak Japanese. So, you know, that there can be anywhere. Right now, we were on a Zoom call with someone from Brazil the other day. You know, we are consciously trying to like work with as much diversity as possible as well, too, right? To reflect our audience's diversity. So, and I think we feel we've made a lot of really interesting new connections in that regard. So yeah, and then if we connect with someone, then we'll give them another project and another. Right. So because part of the work is just getting to know people, and then once you've done that, you can kind of speak in a bit of a shorthand.
No, but there's more than 20 that I mean, there may be 20 we're working with right now, but there's royalty check going out to people who designed something 5 years ago, something that's still selling.
Yes.
That is still in our line. Like there are items that last. Every item has a different trajectory. Mm-hmm. Some things, if they're not selling at all, they go up and down real quick. But we have some things that we've been selling for many, many years, which is rare, actually.
Yeah. And how do you learn about your customers? You mentioned something about, you know, as I listen to you and I look at the creative side of your business, I think to myself, it's a creative business, but there's data and reams of data. And so how much do you let the data inform what you do versus the creativity run wild?
A lot. Our office is a total nerd fest. We plow through a lot of data.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have a very sophisticated system.
Yeah.
And it's data driven, and you know, that's the way it works. But it's also informed by our sales reps. You know, they're ones out there selling to the stores, and so they have a lot to say. They'll say, "Hey, you know, we need something with more unicorns," or I mean, whatever it is that they see out there. You have to listen to what's out there. So that's not in the data. The data we have is just what we've already made.
Right. And speaking about stores, give us a sense, like how many stores carry your stuff, and in how many countries, and what does that look like?
We don't know.
Maybe a few thousand brick and mortar stores. Our website does maybe 7 or 8% of our business, but our bread and butter accounts are brick and mortar stores, more of like independent specialty market shops. We don't sell to big box retailers. We do sell to Whole Foods and some grocery chains. But for the most part, it's a very kind of the urban independents, bookstores, museum shops, gift shops, boutiques, airport places, anywhere where people are traveling, and need something small to bring home is a gift. Like our business is that we're gift manufacturers. We're making things to give to someone else, and so our things are small, and you can throw them in a suitcase and bring them to someone as a gift. So we do really well in places where people are taking a vacation.
Right. And would I find this only in the United States, or are you overseas as well?
We're overseas, but we sell to distributors overseas, so we don't even know who our customers are.
Interesting.
So we sell to a distributor. That distributor, especially when you get into Europe, they're shipping across EU lines. So even though we may have a distributor, in Germany, they're shipping to France, they're shipping to Belgium, et cetera.
Interesting. Well, I want to talk a little bit about corporate culture. This is a phrase that a lot of companies aspire to. They aspire to have a corporate culture. But here, from what I've learned about your business, what I've observed, you really focus on it a lot. And I wonder if you could bring us into how you hire, how do you motivate, what do you aspire to environment? We talked earlier today about how everybody works here. There's no remote
Right.
part of Blue Q. Tell us a little bit about the corporate culture.
I mean, that's a big question, because it's kind of like the biggest thing I think we do here, like setting the stage for everyone to like be engaged and surprised, and is really fun. Like we love that part. I think that's the kind of work that Seth and I actually collaborate on quite a bit together, because we work in kind of different parts of the company. But you're trying to make a workplace that doesn't have any hierarchy, where everyone's invited into all the conversations of what's happening. So we have a lot of parties. We have we have a big garden. We have a company newsletter. Every Tuesday, there's the weekly report is sent out by Bill, telling everyone in the company what's happening in sales, what's happening in product development, what's happening in the warehouse, and just sharing everything with everyone as early as possible is really it's important, so that people don't feel that they're in their own silo. And then we also spend a lot of time just making the place look ridiculous and goofy, and like putting up murals everywhere, and hanging art, and kind of trying to make it look like this place where, like, what's going on here? Is this a business, or is it something else? And so like every surface is a canvas to like throws up something interesting, because it's important. What a place looks like.
But the mix of people is really like, I think that is a hard thing for most companies to assemble well. We're not tolerant of someone who's going to mess with the vibe, and so because it just takes one person, because you saw our office, there's no walls, and it's really important that everyone has an affinity for the same thing and getting along. And we've had on occasion employees that just don't fit in well. They may be skilled in whatever, and it just really poisons the place. And so that's the part that we're pretty unwavering about. I think a lot of companies are like, Bob in accounting, he's a grump, stay away from his office, and they'll put up with that.
Right.
And it's not good to put up with that, because if you really want the place to operate, the way our place works is everyone in our place is happy to spend time with other employees. And you can see it in the workplace, you can see it when we celebrate someone's birthday. Everyone has got everyone else's back and really interested in their life.
And I would imagine people stay here for a long time.
We have very little turnover, and I think, I know you and I were talking about remote working before this, but we're not in favor of it, because you can't operate a creative environment working remote, or not as well. And how do you hire new young people to come in when everyone's at home? How do you train them and mentor them? That doesn't work very well. And we asked everyone to come back to work pretty early on, and everyone was thrilled to come back. There were some challenges. People had my daycare disappeared, and
Right.
there were a lot of things changed after COVID, and we're more flexible with people. But for the most part, yeah, you got to come to play. That's, you got to show up.
I think the most important part of what you just said is that you've created a corporate culture where people want to be here. And naturally, a lot of companies in America are struggling with
Right.
the notion of, will you come back to the office? And what you said is, actually people gladly came back to the office because of the corporate culture. And I think this is a part of business that is often overlooked. It's the cohesion of your staff, it's how you treat people, and I think the part that you described a minute ago, which is this openness to share information,
Right.
is also not common in business. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned by that kind of an approach.
Right.
And I think that people are happiest when they're learning something new. And a lot of companies' culture doesn't really embrace the idea of like creativity. They think creativity is just visual or what have you. But our accounting staff is really creative. Like everything is creative. And so we work with lean manufacturing practices here, which is a process that Toyota pioneered back in the day to make workplaces, to study efficiency and how you can constantly improve. We received a grant a number of years ago to have someone come in here and teach us lean manufacturing, and then we've sent a lot of the staff to these week-long seminars. So now what we do is we can bring people together. We can bring 6 or 7 people together from different departments and study something and use their creativity and maybe their naivete of not knowing too much about this particular thing, but they get to immerse for a week and then do a presentation of how we're going to modify whatever we're doing. And that's been a really big deal here because it's showing that everyone is involved in like the design of the process of what we're doing, and everyone's invited into that and can learn something new. And so
Yeah, and it's not just about manufacturing. I mean, any department you can think of in any company can benefit from lean. It can be accounting. We just did a lean event about how we shoot photography and distribute the photographs. It sounds really simple, but when we shoot a product shot, it goes to so many different places. It's our website, it's social media, it's the Amazon, it's to our sales reps. We have a database for customers to have shots, and we were realizing that process, every time we created a new product, was really inefficient. Things were flying all over the place. We were saving more copies than we needed to, so there was a whole lean event, and it was just involved with everyone involved. Who needs photos, what format, how do they get distributed, where are they stored, and that was a lean event that had nothing to do with production. It is production, but not the way you would think Toyota would use it. But
Sure.
when Toyota created this whole lean thing, it wasn't just about on the factory floor. It was about every department throughout the whole company. And that's really what gave all the US car manufacturers a huge headache back in the 70s.
Sure.
Because the Japanese came along and they were like crushing the US car companies. Less expensive cars, better reliability, I mean everything, because it covers all that stuff. And as Mitch said, one of the things that lean did that we were not expecting is it really created a much better cultural environment here because it involved everyone. So someone who is packing orders, they got put on a lean team. It's like, yeah, we want to hear what you say.
Right.
Mitch and I haven't packed an order in 30 years. Like, we don't belong on that team, But most companies dictate from the top down, which is wrong in so many places. So lean really is from the bottom up, and that changed how employees view their jobs here.
Well, I think you've in a way answered the question that I asked at the beginning of this conversation, which is, you've been at it for over 30 years. How do you keep engaged? How do you keep creative? And one of the secrets, it seems to me, is to continually improve the business in every nook and cranny, whether it's manufacturing or design or how you ship photographs around, and involving your entire company in making the place better. And therefore, I would imagine there's never a dull day because you're always trying to improve.
Yeah, and it's not our job at the top to do this.
Yeah.
It's everyone's job, you know. So, you know, we're getting old. You know, like one of the things we're thinking about is like, what happens to the company when we die off? And we are giving a lot of thought to that. We're not planning on dying anytime soon, but you know, like our attorney called us like 6 or 7 years ago and goes, "You need to start planning.
Right.
You guys are getting old, you know." And so that's been occupying a lot of our time lately. We're now an ESOP, so the employees own a good chunk of the company, and our goal is that it would continue on, you know, for into the future.
Well, this all makes me feel really good about the future of Blue Q. I think as a final wrap up, I just want to probe for a minute or two your involvement in the community here in the Berkshires and here in Pittsfield, because you've done some things that I think also are reflective of your vision of your business, but I wonder if you could share a little bit of how you interact with the community.
Well, we have a lot of friends and different not-for-profit places, and we have an organized group here to let employees get involved in the community. I'm working for Habitat for Humanity. We're working with the West Side Legends because we're in the West Side, and we were very close to that neighborhood. Community Access for the Arts does art classes here with the team of individuals with disabilities we employ. So we help CATA with projects. This room that we're in for years was actually a maker space where we would craft all the props and things we would use for the Art Center of the Berkshires galas or the Berkshire Museum or what have you. It's important to be involved in all these other things that are happening in the community, and it's fun, you know.
Sure.
We're crazy. We'll dive deep on something for a couple of weeks and pull it off, and then get back to business.
Excellent, excellent. Well, listen, it's been a delight learning about your business, learning about what makes it go, what keeps you guys going, and what makes this a really unique company in a unique part of the world. And so thanks for spending time, and thank you for visiting.
Thanks
for having us, Gene.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I tried to get you to bring your cello to play us a little, like, you know, seg out, but I don't see your cello anywhere here.
We'll ask the other Berkshire cellist if he'll come and do a duo. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.